early part of the war, I was performing lots of magic everywhere. There was an army camp near Richmond where I was living at the time, Fort Lee, and I went there many, many times and performed for the servicemen there. Then I performed at the USO clubs that were in Richmond. One of the big department stores, Tallheimer, would have USO parties, and they would call me every week, and I would always volunteer my time and be there. And then I traveled throughout the state to other USO clubs performing. And I did that up until I went in the service in 1944. Well, of course, during the war, I wound up in the Pacific, Philippines to be precise, and I did made a lot of appearances because I had very little equipment along, but I used that equipment, pieces of rope and some silk handkerchiefs and the balls that I do, and that sort of thing, things I could take very easily. And obviously in a service uniform there's not a lot of room to carry a lot of material. And I did, actually before leaving San Francisco to go to the Philippines, I worked a number of USO shows there as well. And then after the war, when I got home, I had this burning desire to build this big illusion show and travel like the Thurstons and the Blackstones and so forth. I met a friend who had carpenter talents, and we teamed up. He knew nothing about magic but was fascinated by what I was doing, and we built a lot of equipment. And we traveled all through Virginia to little theaters and schools and wherever we could get the show. He went out and did some of the booking. And so we went on with that, and it began to grow. And we got up to about 6 or 7 or 8 people, as I recall. But then there was always someone dropping out for whatever the reasons. Not a lot of money coming in. Everything is relative, of course, and so it was expensive to get out and drive to these places and do what we were doing. And I eventually became very disenchanted with it because it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I didn't see the results coming. So I pretty much abandoned that idea and just went to performing as a solo performer. I met Helen probably about 1951, and we got married in 1955, December 1955. In the beginning, she had done a model and was and still is very beautiful, and looked perfect to assist me, and I had been doing a lot of solo work at that point. And I thought, gee, here's this beautiful young lady. She'll be perfect. We could put together more than just what I do. But her feeling about magic was that it was a little bit phony. She was not able to bring herself to do some of the things I did because she felt that they were devious, whereas in magic we just look at them as being the secret of an entertaining trick. But she was so gorgeous, and I fell in love with her, and we got married, and so she didn't really have to do any more magic. I started at Revlon in 1954 as a salesman. I guess a little less than 2 years later, they promoted me to the position of district manager and relocated me from Richmond to Memphis. It was very interesting. It just became second nature for me to involve magic at Revlon. Revlon was a cross in between show business and the fashion business, and I liked both, and still to this day I'm very fascinated by it. And I remember doing magic for the people that worked with me or that I worked with them. And so it got to be that anytime I showed up, wherever, I had to perform magic. They were always after me to see the latest trick. And then as I moved up into management at Revlon, I came up with ideas at sales meetings to make them more interesting by incorporating magic. If we were introducing a new product, I would try to find a way for my presentations, because we all had to make presentations. I would find in my presentations how to bring magic into it. Sometimes it was equipment I already owned that I could use, and sometimes I had to build it especially for that occasion. But the troops, as I refer to them, these were all of our salespeople from all over the country that would attend these meetings. I would get phone calls asking me, "You're going to do some magic, aren't you?" And I would always say yes. So it just became accepted that I would do magic. Now, when I retired from Revlon, they had a party, and they had a magician there that was a member of the same organization that I'm a member. I had not really met him officially, and he performed magic for me. When I retired, I pretty much knew I had become active once again in the Society of American Magicians, which is the oldest magic organization in the world. They just celebrated their centennial celebration, 100 years this year. And I got very much involved with the assembly, the founding assembly in New York City, Parent Assembly number 1. And I came out of Revlon, I guess, like a fire horse, and just because I'd retired didn't mean I'd slowed down. And so I had all of this energy, and I just sort of moved in where I saw things weren't going terribly well, and started innovating and offering help and so forth, and helped to produce one of their big annual shows. And a friend who I had briefly met, Cesario Perez, was booked to come down to do that show that we were producing together. And I guess he saw me in action running all over the place and doing all kinds of things, and so he made it possible when he became president to appoint me to a position that gave me the opportunity to move up to the presidency very, very fast. And so in 1987, I became the national president of the Society of American Magicians, and I served in that position a year, which is the limit that you can serve. Well, Harry Houdini had served as the national president of the S.A.M. from 1917 to his death in 1926. When I served as national president, I heard an awful lot about the Society of Young Magicians. There were several members of the S.A.M. that were trying to get an organization for children going, and so I became very interested in the whole idea, reflecting back on my own childhood, that here was an opportunity to be of help. And so I got involved, and then when I finished up my year, I founded a group in Stamford, Connecticut. We started out with 4 or 5 members, and we're now starting our 15th season in September, and we have had about 35 to 40 boys and girls from the ages of 7 to 16.